Hello everybody, my name is All-Star Plush Productions, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a Diddy, Dixie, or Cranky Kong plush. Now, let's get into the materials. The materials you will need are brown fabric, cream fabric, pink fabric for Dixie, along with yellow fabric for Diddy, red fabric for Diddy, white and blue fabric for Cranky Kong. You also need the pattern. You're going to need the Diddy/Dixie pattern 1, 2, and 3. You're going to need the Dixie Kong pattern for Dixie. If you're making Diddy, you're going to need the Diddy Kong pattern. If you're going to make Cranky Kong, you can use the Cranky Kong pattern, part 1 and part 2. You can get these off my Twitter account, linked in the description. Now you're going to also need some scissors, some stuffing, on a hot glue gun, along with pins and needles. Now, I want to warn you, if you're making Cranky Kong, do not use this brow. It's a piece of trash, and I'm mad I made it. Instead, I have an alternate thing that you can do, because that is not very good. What you're going to want to do is get your Diddy Dixie pattern, number 3, and you have an eye pattern on there, as you see. You're basically going to draw out around the eye pattern to get the shape you want. I will show you how to do that right now. Okay, first off, you're going to start with putting your tummy pieces together, sandwiching them together, and then sewing across the less curved side. Then, it should look something like this. Now, set it to the side and get your body piece and sew the little dart right there. Then, once that's done, it should look something like this on the right side. Now, flip it back to the bad side and put the stomach piece into the body, making sure that the seams line up. Alright, it should look something like this. All sewn in, making sure that the seams align. Now, you're going to take your body piece and grab your back pieces and sew them on so that you have the side edge there, the little edge there, and do a couple stitches at the top right there. Then, once you have that, you can sew across the entire back. Now, if you're making Diddy, before you sew the entire back, you want to make sure that you sew all the way around the tail, leaving a small opening at the bottom right there and stuffing it. Then you want to sew it into your back piece so that Diddy has a tail, and that if you forget it, you can ladder stitch it on later. Now, this is the body. Now we're going to take your darts on your arm and sew those up. Remember to mirror them for the arms. Now that you have that, I will tell you how to fix this little problem. So it's a little short, but you can use it and cut this and make it look better. Huh? What's that? Is that Scott the Woz? Now, you can take your arm piece, sew it all the way across from there to there into the little dart, leaving that edge open and that edge open. Now that you have that, it'll look something like this. Before you flip it right side out, you're going to take both your hand pieces, stack them on top of each other, and sew them all the way around, leaving this small edge open. Then, with both of the bottom edges open, you can sew the arm and the hand both together. It looks something like this once you flip it right side out. Now that you have that, you can stuff the arm. This is what it will look like once it's stuffed. Now you can take it and put it into your body piece with the smaller hole open. Now this is very important for your Diddy and Dixie. If you are using it, you're going to make sure that the top dart, lines up with the top stitch. Now that you have the legs, you're going to sew them across there and there, leaving these edges open. Now you can take your foot and just sew up this little dart. You should have 2 of these pieces and 2 of the ones without the piece. Now that you have that, you can sew your leg onto it, like that, making sure to mirror it for the legs. Now that you have that, you can sew the bottom foot on And then you can flip it right side out and stuff it and sew it into the body. To make the shirt for all of these, you're just going to want to sew it across the 2 diagonal edges here and the 2 edges here. Now, I forgot to record that you need to do something with the legs. You want to sew them into the body, just like you did with the arms, making sure that the toes face towards the stomach. Here's how the hand stitching should look on your plush. Now you can just fold the hands over and ladder stitch them together with the thumb. For Cranky, you're going to sew all the way around his cane, leaving a hole open, flipping it right side out, ladder stitching it, and stuffing it. Then once you have that, you can sew it onto the hand. Now, for the chin piece, you're going to sew up both darts. First, sewing up the first dart right here, then sewing up the side dart right there, so it puts this little angle in it. It should look like this. Then you can take this piece and sew it across the face. But before you sew it across the face, you're going to want to take your lip piece, fold it over itself, and then you can sew it across that. Make sure to do this for both lips. Now it should look something like this for both lips. Then you can sew them into the face where the mouth is. You're going to want to sew it into the face about right here. Make sure that your side face isn't a stitch as far as my end. So it should look something like this. Then you can flip it right side out. And it should look something like this with the lips. Now, you're going to take your face piece. You're going to sew these 2 edges together along this little straight edge. It should look something like this. Then you can take your back headpiece and sew all the darts on it. Just like this. Then, once you have that, you can take your face piece and your back headpiece and sew them together, making sure the point of the back headpiece aligns with the point of the front head. Sewing it all the way around, and there should be a hole open, and I'll show you. So this is what it should look like. As you see, there's a hole open right here. So now we can put the muzzle into it. So you're going to take your finished chin and face piece, and you're going to put it so it's facing the right way out. Then you can stuff it into your face piece, making sure that the chin darts align with the face dart. And sew it all the way around. Now you can flip the head out through the tiny hole that we had. Right there. As you see, I'm flipping it right side out now. Now, once it's flipped right side out, you can stuff the head. Now that the head's stuffed, it should look like this. Make sure your lips are a little spread out more than mine. Then you want to do a running stitch around the bottom of the head. Then you can put it and sew it on to the body. Now that it's sewed onto the body, it should look something like this. Now, I've made Cranky, but I'm going to continue to make him, and I'll teach you how to make Dixie and Diddy afterwards. So, to make Cranky, you're going to take his sideburn pieces, sew all the way around, leaving a little hole open to flip it right side out. This is what it'll look like once it's flipped right side out and stuffed. Next, you can take your beard pieces and sew up the 2 darts and sew all the way around, leaving a small hole open at the top where the darts were. This is what it should look like. Then you can ladder stitch it onto the chin about where I'm stitching it. Now it should look something like this. Now you're going to take your little sideburn pieces and you can sew them onto the head and connect them to the beard. They should look something like this, although mine are going backwards. For the brow piece, you're just going to sew all the way around, leaving a little hole open at the very bottom, not stuffing it, and then ladder stitching it onto the face so it looks something like this. Now, take 2 ear pieces and sew them all the way around, leaving the small edge open here. Now, you also want to make sure that you you've drawn on some nostrils, or you can also embroider them on. Now, you can take your earpiece, fold it over itself right here, and the other one right here. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Then the ear should look something like this. Then you can take it and sew it onto the head. Now for Cranky, if you want to make him look a little older, you can put these stitches where his lips are to make it look more wrinkled. For his eyebrows, I forgot to film this part, so you just want to sew all the way around, leaving the hole open at the very bottom, and then ladder stitching it onto the face without stuffing it. Then you can glue on your eyes, and your plush is basically done. But then you want to take your glasses piece. Make sure that you have, since I have 2 pieces on the template, make sure that you put some cardboard in between the pieces. But yeah, basically, your Cranky Kong plush is now done. Now, I just taught you how to make Cranky Kong. As you know, there are other characters you can make. For instance, you can make Diddy Kong, and Dixie Kong, and Cranky Kong. I just made Cranky, so I'm now going to go through the steps to make Dixie and Diddy. Let's start off. To make Diddy's hat, make sure that you made the hat top way longer than it should be, because the template is not as long as it is. But yeah, once you have that piece, you can take the side hat and sew it all the way around, like that. It should look something like this now with both pieces. Then you can take the hat brim and sew it all the way around, leaving this part open at the bottom. Now you can flip it right side out. And make sure that when you have the hat piece, you can put something like cardboard in between the 2 pieces to make it really stiff. As you see, I'm putting in a cardboard piece. So you can just slide this in, and you can do that. Now you can sew it on to the hat like this. Ladder stitching it on. Blanket stitching on, sorry. And then it should look something like that. Now that you have this is what your finished hat should look like. You can stuff it and sew it onto your plush. I'm now going to go over how to make the stars for Diddy's shirt and how to make his Nintendo sign. For the Nintendo sign and stars for his shirt and hat, what you're going to want to do is you're going to do this with Sharpie on a piece of paper and then tape it or glue it onto your fabric. Now we're going to move on to Dixie. For Dixie, what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your hat brim shirt. Also, the knee pads are optional. They're from her original design from Donkey Kong Country 2, so you don't need to make them. You're going to want to take your hat brim, sew the 2 edges along each other, and then sew the hat top into them. It should look something like this. This is my original test for the pattern. This is the original Dixie that I made. So now you're going to want to take your Dixie hair and sew it all the way across, leaving this small hole open. Then you can ladder stitch it on to your plush, so it looks something like this. And yeah, for her shirt, you can do some running stitches across the front to make it bunched up, and do a similar piece that looks like the lip piece, and then put a strip across it and glue it on to the shirt. For her bangs, you can just glue them on. Same thing with her pieces, but make sure that you sew your hat back more, because mine isn't as far back as it should be. So you can take these little pieces, these little strands, and you can glue those onto the 2, and you can twist them so that it gives her like, I don't know, locks, or I don't really know, but yeah. And that's basically it, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I enjoyed making it. Make sure to leave a like. The plush pattern is down in the description. I know Blob is making something similar to this, but I decided to push this thing out. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.